going on YouTube, social media world? It's your boy AnonymousBased, and I'm biggity back with a new reaction video. This time I'm here with something brand new from It's Complicated. But before we get into that, if you're new to the channel, go ahead and give this video a like, share with a couple of your friends. Make sure you follow me on all my social media sites, and if you got something specific, go ahead and drop it in that comment section. So we are here with something brand new from It's Complicated. Shout out to you, big bro. And the name of this video is called Matriarchy. Rules of Modern Dating and Understanding Women. All right, let's go ahead and get into it, man.
Why do feminists want to smash the patriarchy but not build the matriarchy?
Oh, that's a great question. You'd have to ask a feminist.
Because they like to take down power but not establish it themselves.
Okay, let's get it.
Is it true that most women say they want a man to protect and provide?
Yes.
What if I told you the idea of men protecting and providing is a social construct reinforced by the patriarchy?
I would definitely agree.
If patriarchy is bad, why do women still expect that from men?
Because I feel like women still want to be taken care of, even though they want to be bosses as well. They still want to have that manly love at the end of the day.
Cut that out, you little bastard!
The pressure of society and what's been passed down to us through generations. I think that's part of where the confusion lies, is that there's been this pressure of that you're supposed to be married and you have to do it this way because everybody did it this way. But now with social media and different outlets and religions and countries and cultures and the freedom of speech, people want to try new things.
For me personally, I don't want a man to think that he can do everything for me. I want a man to be able to say, I know that you can do it, but let me do it for you. So I think it kind of depends woman to woman.
What is patriarchy, and why do so many women complain about it?
I think patriarchy is the fear of being controlled by men when it's really a form of structure.
Would you agree that it's defined as a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it?
No, I feel that that's more small-minded individuals. They're not looking at the bigger picture of that we do need leadership. More often than not, unfortunately, we do see women get clouded by their emotions. And I'm guilty of it.
Why is patriarchy seen as such a bad thing when women always expected men to provide?
I think it's just fear. I think, again, it's the fear of wanting to be controlled, but then also wanting to be submissive. So you got to pick a side, ladies.
Exactly.
I think patriarchy nowadays is how men perceive themselves and how they put themselves on a pedestal above women. However, I don't think that was the original perception of it itself. I think women look at it as a negative thing because men use it as like a power trip against women. And I don't think that is something that should be used, especially in today's society, because we have different rules and standards now.
If a man protecting and providing for a woman is called a patriarchy, would a woman protecting and providing for a man be called a matriarchy?
I would say yes. I think that, it would then be a matriarchy of then could trickle down and they would then feel probably victimized later on down the line for it.
How can a society that always places women first be called a patriarchy?
Ooh, that's a great question. Maybe because they don't feel that women are put first right now.
If we lived in a matriarchal society that was run by women, what would the man's role become?
If I'm being totally honest with you,
I said the same thing.
I think it'd be the same concept because there are things that men can do that women can't, and there are things that women can do that men can't.
So if the roles and responsibilities would stay the same, then why do y'all want to tear the patriarchy down? Because if we flipped it and it was a matriarchy where women made all the rules and everything and the men still had the same role, then explain to me why the patriarchy is so bad to where y'all want to tear it down. That makes no sense to me.
And men are the ones that are supposed to be the provider. That's been how it has been for last however long. They have different strengths, they have different weaknesses, just as women do. And I think if it were to be a matriarchal society, women would feel as though that they should be the powerhouse. And I don't think that's necessarily what our generation in today's world can say is 100% the truth.
Isn't a matriarchy just women having authority without responsibility, while men have responsibility without authority?
Well, would that be the same thing as like what a patriarchy is now? Like you could say the same thing.
No.
I don't really know that. I don't really know the answer of that.
women have to work harder to get where they want to, because men are always going to look down on them and saying, you know, oh, you can't do this, you're a woman. Oh, you can't do that, you're a woman. Let me do it for you instead of you can't do it, you know? And that kind of contradicts what I said beforehand. But I think part of it too is it's like women also place this thing on themselves where they're like, I need a man to do this for me. I need a man to do this for me, instead of I want a man to do this for me. And so it's viewed differently.
What does it mean when people say that men are supposed to lead?
I think it's that people want to be supported and have somebody that will lead them and guide them and provide for them. But you have to be willing to be a team player too, not another child in the house.
Exactly.
How is that different than patriarchy?
Ooh, I think it can get kind of messy depending, but I don't know, maybe not too different.
It's more of you're the man, I'm the woman, you're supposed to make me feel comfortable, not levels to our lifestyle though. Because I feel like even if a woman works, a man works, it's no different. We're all working and going towards a goal. So as long as you have that goal, I don't really think it's a matriarchy, patriarchy thing. I just think we're all getting to the goal. So if you want to work and that's going to get us closest to the goal.
So it's interesting how this chick is saying, oh, you know, it's not a matriarchy or a patriarchy. We're both working to get to the goal. Okay, that sounds good on the video. But let's keep it real. This chick gets into a relationship with a dude, and the dude starts falling off, not working on himself, not being a leader, not being confident, not being intelligent, not being assertive, not taking control, not having that confidence to make logical and sound decisions for the betterment of the relationship, and she has to step up and take charge and take the man role. See how long she stays. See how long she stays, and it not be a matriarchy or a patriarchy, and see how long she continues to work towards the goal. Because I can tell just by looking at her with that fake hair on her head, she ain't staying, bro. She ain't staying. She gonna leave and dip to the next dude that already got his life together, and she's gonna go kick it with him.
Then cool. But if I want to have a job and that's going to get us closer to that same goal, I don't think there's a difference.
Why do feminists want to smash the patriarchy but not build the matriarchy?
Oh, that's a great question. You'd have to ask a feminist.
Gotcha, bitch.
Because they like to take down power but not establish it themselves.
Like have a job the same as a man, to be paid the same as a man. That was the original concept of feminism. But now it's turned into something different for certain people, and just kind of screaming it and saying, I'm a woman, you need to respect me, when there's no really concept behind it. And so I think women, not all women, but there are some women, just like how there's bad seeds and everything, have this perception of what feminism is, and that's blasted as like the forefront, and it kind of gets messed around. So I don't really think that it's a common thing for women to feel that way. It's just a certain group.
Oh man, goddamn! Why don't they build a female-only civilization on an island, or a female-only Fortune 500
Man, I already said that,
show
bro.
the world how it's done?
What if it already exists and you don't know about it?
I think that there's a lot of women-owned companies, especially in production and small businesses and all sorts of things. I just don't think that anything would be that sustainable if it was only run by one gender.
Would you consider a queen bee in nature an example of a matriarchy?
Yes.
The queen bee needs her worker bees to survive. She needs the bees also to repopulate as well, to have more bees. She needs those male bees. But those male bees follow her everywhere because they need someone to lead them.
The queen bee example is a perfect example of the female not being able to function without the males assisting her. So even though she's quote unquote the leader, you won't be able to sustain the hive if it's all female bees. You gotta have the male bees there to establish the order, safety, and protection of the hive. So if you die as the queen, they're just gonna move on. But see, if they leave and you're there, how are you going to protect your hive from predators? Birds can come in, anything can come in and take you out. Hornets can show up and attack the hive and kill the queen because there's no defense. So even though she's quote unquote the leader, you're not really running anything.
If all women are queens, how do we not currently live in a matriarchy?
But we do.
How so?
All queens support other queens. If you don't support a queen, then you're not a queen.
Can you think of any matriarchies that have existed and stood the test of time?
No.
Oh, yes. I can think of specifically three actually. Two of them are Egyptian. One of them is Hatshepsut and Cleopatra. And if you think about it, Cleopatra was one of the smartest women in the entire world. She knew 17 different languages, I think it was. She actually controlled Rome through Caesar by contacting him through emotional powers. That's pretty cool. Hatshepsut did the same.
Okay, I always find it interesting when women like to bring up this Queen Cleopatra example, because if you actually look into it, you'll see that she didn't run the kingdom by herself. It was her, and she shared the throne with her brother. And the reason that it fell apart is because they had a disagreement and then they turned on each other. So we all understand that a structure can't thrive with two heads. There can only be one leader and one decision maker. So if you have two people that are in charge and one of them has a difference of opinion, well, then how do you settle it? See what I'm saying? So what she's saying is a load of cap. And I can actually put something in the video to show you guys that what I'm saying is the truth and what she's saying is a bunch of cap.
Stop the cap.
Thing, and she actually had all of her portraits in Egypt described more as manly and more masculine because she wanted people to respect her. I think the last one would also be Queen Elizabeth I. If you think about it, she had no heirs, she did nothing, and she wanted to be portrayed as a man as well because she wanted to have respect and authority, and she is one of the greatest leaders that we still talk about to this time.
So if all of what you said is true, and you're bragging about the fact that they're women, then why is it that they themselves rejected the female identity and wanted to be looked at under a male identity? That kind of doesn't make sense. You can't praise the women for being in charge and then turn around and say, well, they actually wanted to be viewed as a man. So that means that they themselves didn't even like being women. That's the contradiction right there. So I don't know what this chick is on, but
stop the cap.
I don't know about standing the test of time. I think a lot of them, if they made a difference, unfortunately, it was short-lived.
So then why are so many women obsessed with tearing down the patriarchy and replacing it with a matriarchy?
Because they're afraid that if they don't continue to push, then it will be completely undermined.
And I hate to say
Stop the cap.
You had these women that were in these positions of power. They were doing these really good things for their countries, and then a man stepped back in, and sometimes it kind of just falls down due to ego.
Could it ever be possible for women to hold too much power in society?
I think it is possible. I'd like to wish that it wasn't, but a lot of times we can get clouded by our emotions.
You know, it'd be wrong for me to say that men hold too much power and say that women can never hold too much power. I think if you get power in your hands and you have a power trip kind of person, and it can totally lead to self-destruction, 100%.
If we consider that the mainstream media, social media, TV, newspapers are all owned by powerful men, the real patriarchy of this world, who is giving women so much airtime to platform and challenge the patriarchy?
The men who are they're in love with the women's look so much that they would do anything for the women, right?
Isn't that called a simp?
Yep.
Depends on how you see it. Yes and no. Everybody simps for somebody.
The men are the ones giving us the power. I think, unfortunately, a lot of it comes down to what looks good on TV, and sex sells.
Women often complain about how it's a man's world and how men have all the power in society. If we lived in a matriarchy and women had all the power, would they be willing to give it up?
No, definitely not.
So then why should men be expected to give away their power?
I mean, they're not, but that's the real men from the fake men.
Gotcha, bitch! Don't women have all the power when it comes to controlling sex, and are they willing to give that up?
I don't think so, but a lot of women don't see themselves as in power, which they should. If a man's, running to your needs and providing for you, definitely.
Cut that out, you little bastard.
The skirt.
I mean, if a girl wants to have sex with a guy and the guy says no, then they're controlling sex. Like,
No.
It's
more
an interesting
common, but-
conversation because
Stop
the
the cap.
typical situation is that women, choose who they want to have sex with, whereas guys tend to, get with who they can. As from what I've seen, it's not a fact, but, so in every scenario except rape, it's probably correct.
When men were in charge,
Okay.
didn't they still make laws to protect women?
Yes.
State by state.
Yes, they
If we
did.
lived in a matriarchy, would women make laws to protect men?
Of course we would, because we're wives, we're
Stop
women,
the
we
cap.
take care.
He just asked her, if we're in a matriarchy, will women make laws to protect men? And this chick said, yes, we would, because we're wives. You don't want to be wives now. And under the current patriarchal system, you guys benefit from the laws that put the man down. You take the kids, you take the house, you take the child support, you take the alimony, you take half the assets. So you mean to tell me that if you flipped it around, that you would put some laws and a structure in place to protect us? Because if that was really true, then why aren't the feminists gathering together and rallying for equality to protect men from getting hurt by the legal system? Why aren't y'all doing that now? Y'all got all the rights and privileges in the world, but yet you still want to take from us. Why is that?
So that's something that we do as well. So yes, we definitely would.
I would think so.
Stop the
I know that
cap.
they would probably look out for themselves first, though.
Exactly.
If so, what would those laws be?
That's a great question. I've never really considered
bitch.
that because I already feel that men are protected.
Men make
Astound is doing things bigger this season. Lock in bigger savings with Astound Internet for only $20 a month for 2 years. Shop online deals now.
Men make laws and rules based on what's best for them and their families and what they feel is going to keep them best in positions
Stop
where
the
they
cap.
need to be. Women think more emotionally in the sense of, what can I do for this man? What can I do for me? What's going to protect me? What's going to be best for my children? And I think that's also why you don't see a lot of women in power too, is because there's a lot of men that just make laws to keep them in power and a lot of women that make laws that are sustainable and long term.
No,
Why
they
do women
don't.
think that if we have a female president, everything will suddenly become amazing?
Because women are amazing.
Does being a
the
particular
cap.
sex mean that you have to share certain politics?
No.
It doesn't matter if it's a woman or man. It just matters how educated they are and how they run the country.
Okay.
Why do women think that the men in power won't cater to women when they already have?
I think it's circumstantial. Like, maybe they have in some things, but there's still certain things that maybe they haven't.
I just think they've
Stop
done
the
what
cap.
they think is enough, but it's not enough.
If we live in such
Okay. So if enough hasn't been done to give and cater to women, then what more do y'all need? For the feminists that come over, maybe the 3 or 4 feminists that watch my videos, leave some comments and tell me, what more do y'all want that y'all don't have?
a patriarchal society, where did all these laws come from that protect women and punish men?
No idea, because I don't have any laws that really protect us, so I don't really know what laws protect me, because I don't feel protected as a woman, so I don't get that
Stop
question
the cap.
either.
Well, like the violence.
If you weren't protected, then explain to me where the double standard and the chivalry came from. Chivalry was like an unspoken rule that catered to y'all and protected y'all. But y'all are the ones that walked away from that and say, you know what? We don't want to be up under y'all. We want to do our own thing. The guy stepped back and said, okay, cool. We'll change the laws and make it to where you can be included and do your own thing. Now you got that, and now you want to get rid of us. And then at the same time, you complain because we're not doing the things that we were doing before you had rights, freedoms, and privileges. So ain't that something? So you had it good over here, but now you want to come over to this side, and then you realize it's not all that's cracked up to be, and now you want to spin the block and go back, and we're like, nah, you made your choice. Stand on it.
Against Women Act. The family courts are typically biased against men.
Thank you.
I think it just comes down to what we've seen in history. It takes, like I said, it takes a long time to fix what's happened in the past, and so a lot of times these laws are put in place to help act as a catalyst to do that. But because right now, like as you said before, women are in a position where they are trying to become equal, and in order to do that, it takes laws to be set in place.
If feminism is about equality, why isn't there equal representation of both men and women's issues?
I think that's because they already feel that they're below men, so they're trying to catch up to then be seen as equal.
Because there's not equal representations in our government. So until we have equal representation of females in our government, then it would trickle down into society.
The squeaky wheel gets the oil. If a woman sees that there's a problem, she's going to speak up against it. If a man sees that there's a problem, they're going to speak up to it. When a lot of people are drawing attention to an issue, they're all going to speak up to that. And I think that's what is happening with women in our country. And I think that it needs to happen because when a problem is seen and so many people agree on it, people should speak about it.
Okay, now that I agree with. That I agree with. Oh, but anyway, shout out to It's Complicated for coming through with the 5 video called Matriarchy. Okay, so first impressions of me watching this one was very interesting. It was very, very interesting because this was made in a way that solely meant to draw out the female perspective on how they view society and the dynamics between male and female. And what I liked about this is that he was able to highlight the double standards and the fallacies in the feminist ideology. I really enjoyed watching this, and I really enjoyed when they get stuck in their logic, because the feminist ideology trains them to think this one way, to view themselves as empowered and be victims at the same time. So then when you bring up a scenario where the man is at a disadvantage, they don't know how to respond to it because they've been so trained to believe that only their view and their experiences matter. Well, we've been oppressed for so long. We need equality. We need rights. We need power just like you guys. So then you get a little bit of it and you're just like, we're empowered now. But then when that feeling fades away, now it goes back to, well, we don't have enough and we're still oppressed and we're still being held back. Held back by who? Held back by who? Because last time I checked, y'all got the right to vote a little over 100 years ago. So there's been several laws over the decades that have given you guys things to do what you want to do. You're free to do what you want to do, but then somehow that's still not enough. So it's just interesting to see how when the man poses the logic to society and how things are set up and structured and how they're ran and dictated, they have a hard time taking themselves out of that ideology to be forced to look at it and say, hey, there's another perspective that you're not acknowledging. So then when he's bringing the questions and the issues to the table, it's always responded to with one or two ways. Either they try to act like it's not that big a deal, or they try to say it goes both ways. There's actually a video where he was talking about how every time he brings up men's issues or something that men are dealing with gets brought up, the women always downplay it and say, oh, well, that happens to both of us. So it's not that big a deal. But overall, great video, great perspectives. One girl talking about the Cleopatra, she was all cap. There was a lot of capping going on. But overall, it was a great video, great dialogue, great discourse, great conversations, great feedback. No one got in their feelings. No one got triggered. No one got offended. But overall, these types of conversations are what's needed to help us, bridge the gap and work out our differences that we may have with one another. So one last shout out to It's Complicated. And that's pretty much my reaction, man. So if you like the video, give this video a like. Share with a couple of your friends. Make sure you follow me on all my social media sites. And if you got something specific, go ahead and drop it in that comment section, man. It's your boy AnonymousBased. Peace.